this right now. There we go. There we go. Let's move it a little closer. Bingo. All right. Welcome to a recap of the NHL Round 1 playoffs. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference. In a shocking, and just so you know, it's me. What up? In a shocking turn of events, the Florida Panthers beat the Boston Bruins in a 7-game doozy. Now, I think that my original pick was the Boston Bruins in 5. So I was wrong. But in my original pick, I do think I said the Panthers would give the Bruins a battle. And I don't mean a roast battle, brother. So, Boston had the greatest regular season in NHL history. But, Florida was the 8th seed, and I think what really helped the Panthers was that they had been battling to get into the playoffs for a month. So they were already in playoff mode, which I think, strangely enough, helped them. So it's, the Bruin fans devastated. They probably saw Patrice Bergeron in his last game ever, which is crazy. One of the greatest, maybe the greatest, what would you say, defensive center of all time. I know Bob Gainey, Guy Carbonneau, they're definitely in the discussion. Of course, we have our own Patrice Bergeron out here in LA, Anze Kopitar. But, the Panthers now go on to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's a tough series to call, to be honest with you. I mean, Florida is built for the playoffs. Florida kind of reminds me of those Stanley Cup teams in LA. They don't necessarily, outside of Matthew Tkachuk, have star power. They're big. I love Gudis. I wanted the Kings to get Gudis at the playoff deadline. Instead, we got Gavrikov, who was great. More on him later. They're built for the playoffs, and they have a pretty high level of skill. Barkov's great player. Reinhardt's a sniper. They're Bennett. I love the way Bennett plays. He's built to play in the playoffs. He's aggressive. He's like Florida's Marchand. I think they like playing for Maurice. So, Toronto, they beat the Lightning. I think I picked the Lightning in 7 in that series. So, my predictions were not that good. But, that's the thing with the NHL. The playoffs are really, they're so different than the regular season that, I almost had a weird feeling the Bruins were not going to win the Cup. And on paper, they should have. I mean, they definitely should have won the Cup. I mean, the greatest regular season ever. Good goaltending, good defense, great forwards. And, unfortunately, they ran into a team that was pretty hot in Florida. And, the Maple Leafs, they're a good team. I think this series will boil down to goaltending. Florida can stop Matthews. You know, it's the pressure is, I think, much more on Toronto than it is Florida. I mean, Florida beating Boston, that was their Stanley Cup. Like, they could lose in four straight to Toronto, and this playoffs would be considered successful. So, you know, in my prediction, Florida, oh boy, I'm going to say Florida in seven. It's a tight series. And then you have the Carolina Hurricanes against the New Jersey Devils. Carolina beat the Islanders. Islanders just, I don't know. They gave it a good effort. I knew they would, but Carolina, they're a pretty good team. They're pretty solid in all areas. So and they're fast. They're big. Uh, they're like a better version of the Florida Panthers. They're just built for the playoffs. So, the Islanders they're kind of a weird team. They got a lot of big contracts. They went all in trading for Horvat. Sorry about the noise. My neighbor's ripping up her floors as we speak. Um, so, the Islanders are going to be a very interesting team because, they don't have a lot of prospects. They're kind of a semi-older team. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go in. But and the Rangers, of course, lost to the Devils last night. Game 7. Game really wasn't close. And I rarely say that one team. What up? What up? Yes, 100%, Mr. B. But the Devils just looked hungrier last night. Now, obviously, I know the Rangers wanted to win as well. But, that first goal they scored, it was all hunger. It was all who wanted it more. And the Devil outworked two guys to get the puck to his opponent, and he scored a beautiful goal. So, this is, I believe Carolina finished ahead of the Devils by 1 point. So this is as even as a series as you're going to get. Carolina's very good at home, not great on the road. Normally I would say Carolina, because in a 7-game series, they get 4 games, obviously, at home. And, but the Devils, there's something about this Devils team that just seems like, I don't know, it just seems like it's their year. I mean, Hughes is playing great. The goaltending's, was really good last night. So this is a tough one. I'm not trying to hedge my bets. In my head, I want to say Carolina. But I do think that the Devils will steal a game in Carolina. So I'm going to go with the Devils in 7. So we're going to have in the Eastern Conference Finals, New Jersey and Florida. So, and then we'll cover that if it happens. All right, let's go to the Western Conference. Some great games in the first round for the Western Conference. We have the Vegas Golden Knights, the number 1 seed, really beating up on the Winnipeg Jets outside the first game, where Hellebuck was really good. An interesting press conference after the series was over where Rick Bowness, the coach, just said, our team sucked. We haven't had the hunger since February or January. And, they have a lot of bloated contracts on that Jets roster. So it's going to be interesting. That speech by Bowness didn't go over well in the locker room. And I find it next to impossible to see how those veteran players will play for him next year. So that's going to be a very interesting offseason for Winnipeg. I could see the Jets trying to unload Wheeler, who's still got some wheels left, pardon the pun. But the series really wasn't close. I mean, the Knights are a very good team. And that sets up a match with the Edmonton Oilers, the number 2 seed, who took out my beloved LA Kings in 6 games. I think I said, well, I kind of made 2 predictions with the Kings and the Oilers. I believe I said if the Kings get Fiala and Velarde back, the Kings would win in 7. They did, but they lost in 6 to the great Connor McDavid and crew. Kings and Edmonton, pretty even. But, McDavid is he's on another level, man. I've seen him play live. I've seen Gretzky play live. We'll get to the Kraken in a second. I've seen Messier play live. Mario Lemieux play live. Jaromir Jagr play live. McDavid is in the discussion. And yes, I realize what I'm saying. Let's see if we can straighten this out a little bit. Oh, no. There we go. A little bit. He's like watching a video game. The Bruins, we just covered them, but, that's the crazy thing about the playoffs. I mean, the seeding worked out as it should. I mean, the number 1 seed played the 8th seed. So I don't think the Bruins can complain about the seeding. You got to play the games. So, Bob Levy's stepped out. All right. Well, I do not stick up for Chad after what he said about Bob Levy's daughter. This is a hockey show, but I can talk about that. I'll answer any question in chat. I don't, in regards to the whole podcast wars, I don't think kids should be brought into it. I don't think Bob's kids should be brought into it. I don't think Aaron's from Steel Toes kids should be brought into it. I don't think Chad's mom should be brought into it. I don't think. I know some people talk about Shuli's marriage. I don't think that should be brought up. In my whole situation with, like, say, Jeff Ross, do you ever hear me talk about his parents or his family? Nope. You ever hear me in Roast Battle, talk about significant others? Nope. So I'm not. Well, here's the thing, Jacob. I'm a roast comic, I guess you'd say. Obviously I have a history with Roast Battle. I think if you look at Chad's jokes, some of them were funny, I never said he killed. I said if you analyze the jokes he told, some of them were funny. I said I don't think it was as bad as people make it out to be. Believe me, I'm a comic of 23 years. I know what bombing is. I've done it many times myself, unfortunately. But I like Florida in 7. But I just think he was nervous. And see, that Chad did what I would not have done, to be honest with you. I don't like going up there with a notebook. I might go up there with one piece of paper. I might go up there with my iPad where the jokes are literally on one sheet. I did that at the Ric Flair roast. I think when you go up there with 7, 8 pieces of paper, it never works. When I battled, now a roast is different than a roast battle, but when I roast battled Jesse Joyce, if you go, I think you can go on Comedy Central and look up Earl Skakel, Jesse Joyce. I went up there with nothing. He went up there with like literally 9 pages of jokes. And you could tell, like, when I got the first joke in and it did well, and Jesse's a very, very seasoned comic and a great comic. and frankly, a much better writer than me. But you could tell he got nervous because he starts shuffling around the papers. Oh my God, I got to find this joke. And I think that was Chad's problem. Like if I ever did the Kevin Brennan roast, I would go up there with no paper. I would look at Kevin. The jokes I wrote for Kevin would be in my head. I would look at, I don't know, Mike Bichetti, and okay, I remember I wrote this joke about Mike, and I'd see Gino, do a joke about Gino. I might have my iPad. So on the Shane Doan roast, if you look up Earl Skakel, Shane Doan, I had my iPad on stage, but literally every joke I wrote was on one sheet of, well, it's not Microsoft Word. I think it's called Pages. So, to answer your question, hold on. Yo, I'll be in Vegas next week. I plan on catching a night's game. Oh, great, Mr. B. I have not been, well, I've been to King games in Vegas when they did something in preseason called the Frozen Fury, but I have never been to a Knights game. Do you think it's funny when? Do I think it's funny? I mean, do I wish I had more Patreon subscribers? Sure. I mean, you know, it's horrible. I think I have 10 right now, but it doesn't bother me that much. I mean, Kevin's funny to me. You know, he's one of the funnier people. I mean, I don't know him because I've never met him, but I mean, you have to laugh if you're me. Um, yes, Wayne Gretzky was a great king, no doubt about it. But I don't. I'm unlike a lot of the people who are podcasting and who are on Patreon and who have super chats and I'm working my way towards doing super chats, but I don't need the money, so it doesn't bother me as much. I think I made uh, going on your episode. Yes, I will be going on Beach Cops sooner or later. What's your current workout routine? I just got back from yoga right now. So I switch it up. I take Lois, my dog, on like 3 hour walks. I do a lot of yoga. I'm not a member at a gym right now, unfortunately, that doesn't have weights. Let's fix that sign a little bit. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There we go. So let me fix that a little bit. I'm a pro. Let's see here. A little bit more. Yeah, there we go. So, but in terms of Chad and the roast, I mean, the one joke he did, Gary Goldman wanted to be here. He hates Kevin. So and so Neil wanted to be here, but he hates Kevin. Leslie Jones wanted to be here, but he hates Kevin. That's a funny roast joke. Um, I think I'm trying to think. He had one or two others that I liked, so it wasn't like complete silence. And as a roaster, you almost want a set like that on a roast because it gives the other roasters a chance to make fun of them. And Aaron Berg had some great lines. So I honestly don't think it was that bad. And I know people will say, "Oh, you're just saying that." I would say it if it was Mike Bichetti. I mean, Mike Bichetti kind of bombed, but when you look at some of the jokes he did, it's pretty funny. I mean, I would say the best set of that roast was Patty Rossborough and Tom. Um, so they killed, but roast, it's tough. I'll say that. I respect anyone who does it, whether you bring up 9 pieces of paper or one piece or no pieces, like, because the feedback is instant. And, especially in a New York audience with Kevin Brennan fans, I think Kumi was in the back. And, you got to understand, like, that crowd, you know, it's kind of like roast battle where you want someone to bomb because that gets the room going in a weird way. So let me turn the see this. I can there we go. We could do that. We could really go nuts and do that. But well, maybe we should just go Earl. Um, I watched the Kevin Brennan roast off, and Gino was good. I mean, Gino went, with some of the racial stuff. So, that plays in roast. So, all right, let's get back to hockey. I lost my train of thought there. But you can ask me anything you want. I know what time is it? It's 12:24. I don't want to interrupt Chad's Mud Shark Misery thing, or certainly Kevin's live show, because then people think I'm doing this on purpose or something. So you got the Vegas Golden Knights and the LA Kings. Have you seen is getting during his shows? Do you think anyone will have an intervention? I mean, I've never had a drink in my life. Not a drug, a drink, not even a cigarette. A sit-down Zumok in the house. Better Wi. I do have better Wi-Fi, to be honest with you. Chad is in the house. I'm here. Ask me. Well, Chad, I was just asked, do I think you drinking on air is too much? For me personally, it is, but I don't drink. So, Chad has my number. Anytime he wants to have a private conversation, you can call me anytime, day or night. We are friends. Do I like everything Chad does? No, I don't, but I don't tell people how to act. Everyone has to behave in their own guidelines. So, sounds like your neighbors. Oh, it's the worst, Mr. B. It's the worst. They're ripping up their floors. What up? What up, William? William Zoom, one of my favorite YouTube. Why did you block your Twitter, Chad? Jacob, ask Chad that in 30 minutes. This is a hockey talk, but I will ask or answer any questions about the podcast wars. Let me see. Earl, do you have an agent, and do they know this is Earl's show? Yes, this is Earl's show. Thank you, Chad. You need a mic arm like I'm working on it. I have a voiceover agent, but I do not. Well, Jacob, I understand that, but you will be able to ask Chad that in 20 minutes on his stream. Because then if you ask him here, we get crosstalk, and I'm trying to do a hockey thing, and it gets confusing. But to answer the other person's question, I do have a voiceover agent in terms of acting gigs and how I get them. It's usually an agent or a manager. I like the Devils in Seven, who sees me at the Comedy Store. Comedy Store is a great way for me to be seen. It is the number one club in the country. Well, I'll go back to hockey talk till I get another podcast question. So the Knights and Edmonton Oilers. I got to go with the Oilers in 7. I do think what hockey team did Brody Stevens support? He didn't really like hockey, to be honest with you. He's a baseball guy. I do like the Oilers in 7. I think the Knights approach defense the completely opposite way the Kings do. The Kings use what is called a 1-3-1, which is one forward up high, and then you got 3 forwards basically, and a defenseman has a second wave of defense, and then you've got one last guy back there before the goalie. The Knights attack. They're all in, and I think that is a pro and a con with the Edmonton Oilers, because that gives them more opportunity. And I'm telling you right now, McDavid has the potential to score 10 goals in this series. I mean, when you give him a little lighter defense, I mean, the Kings are a good defensive team, but it also means the Oilers will give up more opportunities. So the Kings aren't really known as an attacking team. So I do think 818 till I die. Yes, enjoy it. I don't have sound effects yet. I'm working on that. The only sound effects I have right now is my neighbor next door and her ripping up the floors. You don't get this on Rogan's podcast. Um, so, it's going to be a great series. It's going to be very fun to watch. I think there'll be a lot of high scoring games. Vegas, they don't, I mean, outside of Jack Eichel, they don't necessarily have superstars, but they've got a lot of good players. I know. I'm sorry about that, Nick. Nothing I can do about it. It's out of control. I can't wait to get out of this building. So, Edmonton in 7. The two teams are very close. I think. Do you think Patrick Marleau is a Hall of Famer? Yeah, I think he is. I mean, Hall of Fame across all sports is wacky. Like, I'm still blown away in baseball that Dave Parker is not in the Hall of Fame because he was the best player in baseball for 5 years, but Scott Rowland's in. Like, Marlowe's, he's a Hall of Famer. Is he a first ballot? That's a tough one. But, like McDavid's a first ballot. Draisaitl's a first ballot. Kopitar, I think, is the first ballot, captain of 2 Stanley Cup teams. I guess Dustin Brown was the captain, but, so it's going to be, I think Marleau will get in, well, I mean, the criteria changes so much for Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's not good, obviously. Joe Thornton, is Joe Thornton a Hall of Famer? In terms of games played and his legacy, yeah, he probably is. But you got to understand, I grew up in an era in all sports where to get in the Hall of Fame, you had to be one of the greats. So if you were getting into the NFL Hall of Fame, you had to be Terry Bradshaw, you had to be Franco Harris, John Jaha, better as better as DH, Jumbo Joe. I mean, Dave Parker. Now I'm 54, so I saw Dave Parker in his prime. For 5 years, he was the best player in the game. But I also think he, obviously the cocaine trial in the 80s probably hurt his chances. I mean, and what makes it even more, I want to show you guys something. I am a little biased. There he is, the Cobra. My friend Jordan got me that. The Cobra. I am a little biased because he is my favorite baseball player of all time, but Jesus Christ, Ted Simmons is in the Hall of Fame and Dave Parker isn't? Come on, man. So in hockey, it's famous smile. Yes. I definitely think Marleau and Thornton are Hall of Famers. It's like, I mean, Dustin Brown, is he a Hall of Fame player? 2-time Cup captain? Probably, just based on that. But in terms of his stats, and I'm a King guy, that's a tough one. So, getting to the final series, the Seattle Kraken, the 7th seed, beat the defending champs, the floor. Well, hold on, dude. This is out of control here. Sorry, you guys have to look at my face, but the form is payback. Yes, 100%. On the floor noise. I mean, Brown, though, it's tough, though. When you're the captain of 2 Stanley Cup teams, you put up a decent amount of points. He probably gets in, to be honest. One of the elite power forwards, I think, of his generation. Like, it's tough to not put a 2-time Cup winning captain in. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a King fan. It's just, there's certain realities that I think everyone loves him. The media loved him. He's got a great story. Came into the league with a stutter, and it was very much like the Kings' Dave Taylor. Who also had a stutter, and they overcame it. So I think all 3 of those guys we just talked about get in the Hall. And getting back to the Kraken, the Kraken. I think I picked the Avalanche in 5, but it was kind of like the Florida-Boston series where, I said that, the Kraken will not be an easy game for the Avalanche. And I think they scored in every game first, all 7 games, which is pretty impressive. And Grubauer he was great. He stopped McKinnon several times point blank in Game 7. So, Grubauer just played a little bit better than Gorgiev. And the Kraken overall, they believe in the system. They don't have, obviously, being an expansion team. Uh, Mr. B, I definitely think the Bruins was the bigger upset. The greatest regular season record in the history of the league. But the Kraken, like I was saying, they don't have a superstar because they're 2 years into the league. They certainly have some very good players. Bjorkstrand, Bernier's. They got Shane Wright coming. Their defense is Vince Dunn and Alexiak, and you know it's not like the greatest unit 1 through 6, but they play together, which is oftentimes more important. And they are going up against the Dallas Stars, who beat the Minnesota Wild in a very hard-fought series. This is a tough one. I mean, Seattle just seems like they're almost a team of destiny. They very much remind me of the Columbus Blue Jackets team coached by John Tortorella that swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think, in the pandemic. They just seem like there's something there. In the NHL, I think more than any other sport, you can be up against a better team, but if you play harder, you can beat them. Dallas is very good though. Big, strong, physical, pretty fast, good goaltending. So, oh boy, this is tough, man. I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Dallas in 7. But it's going to be a great series. I mean, that Seattle crowd was awesome. So if we're going over my second round predictions, I'm going to say the New Jersey Devils in 7, the Florida Panthers in 7, the Edmonton Oilers in 7, and the Dallas Stars in 7. I'm not being lazy just picking 7 games, but I really do think all 4 series are so close. And anything can happen, that I am really, let's see, Kraken. Listen, I mean, right now they're one of the 8 teams who have a chance. I don't think they'll win the cup, because if my predictions turn out right for the second round and they got to play Edmonton, I mean, McDavid is a load. And I think when you look at, like, the Kings kind of neutralized McDavid. But McDavid is so good, even when you stop him, he still dominates. So Jersey was a big upset too. Oh yeah, I mean, Jersey was a big upset. And the Rangers are an interesting team. Do they bring back Kane? They traded for. Who's your cup prediction? Or, I mean, it's too soon, but based on the 8 teams, I mean, it's, oh boy. I mean, I like Florida. Coming out of the East. I mean, they're just built to. They very much remind me of the Kings in 2012 to 2014. Not the greatest team skill wise, but they're good enough, and they can kind of play all styles. So I think we're looking at a Florida Edmonton finals, with Edmonton winning the cup. I mean, if I had to, I'm guessing right now. So, but the Rangers, they're gonna, it was a failure. Let's be honest. They went all in, and they don't have a lot of prospects. So that's the one. I think Ray Ferraro said it best. The Rangers were either going to be a big swing and a hit or a big swing and a miss. And, the tough thing about being in the Rangers market is, Mr. B, you got to understand that, I mean, Florida beat the best team in the league by far. So it's not a stretch that they would beat Toronto and then say, Carolina or Jersey. I mean, they're very, if you beat Boston, you could really beat any of the 7 remaining teams. But let's just say they played Edmonton in the finals. When two teams are pretty close, I'll always go with the team who has the better player. And right now, no matter who Edmonton plays, you might say Eichel, but uh, Edmonton will have the two best players on the ice, and McDavid and Draisaitl. But the Rangers, that they got a high cap. You know, Kane and all those players. They do you bet on that? I've bet on hockey before because I find that, and I don't want to interrupt Chad's thing, so we got about 15 minutes left here. Hockey is one of the few sports I think where if you're really knowledgeable about it, which I am, you can win. Because I think in general, tendencies in hockey play out more than they do in any other sport. If a team's good on the home court, they're going to win at the home court most times. Certainly not all the time, but they're going to win the majority of their home games. And you take a team like Carolina, they're bad on the road in the playoffs. So I'll always go with the home team against Carolina. But they will win at some point. MMA, MMA. I think there's very few upsets in MMA, which makes it cool when there is one. Um, but so I do pretty good in MMA betting. Although I lost money when gone. I thought he was going to beat John Jones. I just thought he'd be too fast. And funny, I went on Gabe Morency's radio show. Shout out to Gabriel Morency and Sports Rage on Sports Grid Radio. Gabe was the first one to put me on radio of any sort, as well as TV. I said, there's no way Jones will submit Gunn. So, it's, just like I'm sure not many people had Florida beating Boston. I think horse racing, if you contract tendencies, you can be, if you're fairly knowledgeable, you can make money on horse racing. I got the sign 2 weeks ago. I don't get any promotional ability from Radical Neon on Melrose Avenue. So let me see. These chats are disappearing as I'm saying. Sorry about that. How's your? I mean, I don't bet on pro wrestling because I just that's not my thing. What do I think of Ray DeVito? I like Ray. Me and Ray kind of get lumped in together because you guys never pick a side. You're just nice guys, and I'm gonna steal pardon the pun. I'm gonna steal a phrase from Steel Toe. I'm gonna quote a movie. I'm nice until it's time not to be nice. I don't know, to be honest with you. I think it's Oops. I think it's. I just dropped my thing here. I think it's. This is. You don't get this on Rogan. There we go. I can control it with this thing. I really like it. I mean, listen. But you know what I'm saying on Roadhouse? Like, I get accused often of being too nice and wanting to have everyone like me. Well, yeah, who doesn't want to be liked? And in this business of stand-up, well, then it's probably LED. And see, I can go like this with it. I can go like that. And then to the highest level, I'll go like that. That's probably two lights. It's got the little globe around it, an aura. So I'll dim it a little bit so it doesn't blow out anyone's eyes. I mean, I'm nice till someone causes me to not be nice. I mean, I don't think, I guess in the podcast wars world, it's called being a cuck. I'm the furthest thing from a cuck. Ask Jeff Ross if I'm a cuck. Ask Comedy Central if I'm a cuck. Ask the show Roast Battle if I'm a cuck. A lot of people don't realize this, but when I went to do the, yeah, you probably should be, Fred. Uh, when I went to do the Roast Battle podcast, it was in Comedy Central's building, uh, and it was in the building's literally owned by Viacom. And I was told, "Hey, we love you. You know, you're the most requested person to have on the podcast, but just play nice." And then, I got in there and I just went full heel. So I don't think too many comics who still audition to this day for Comedy Central animation gigs would have said what I said. But I felt that I was wronged on the show. We won't get into that. You know how I feel. So, but Ray's always good to me. I don't say mean things about people unless they say something mean to me. You know. So, in terms of the podcast wars, I'm friends with Bob Levy. I'm loosely friends with Kevin. I mean, we've never met, but he's always been nice to me in DMs. Chad's one of my best friends in comedy. Um, I don't know. Let's roast. I've spoken with Aaron from Steel Toe. I am the OG, Mr. B. Never forget. I've spoken to Aaron from Steel Toe a few times on DM. He was nice to me. Um, I don't think he did, Fred. Uh, I've never spoken with April. Who else is in don't know Carl from Who Are These Podcasts. I know the insufferable bastard guys. They've always been good to me. Win by Two has always been nice to me. Patrick Melton, one of my better podcasting friends. Um, so that's I'm easygoing. Until you do something to me I don't like. And I've been lucky enough in 23 years in comedy. I think I have maybe 3 enemies. Whoa, whoa, sorry about that. Got noises coming from everywhere. That's time. That's the wrap it up time. I'm giving myself the light because I don't want to cut in on Chad's. I know Chad said he's going 5 minutes earlier than Kevin. I certainly don't want to cut in on Kevin's, show. Because I know if I did, people would be like, "Oh, you're doing this on purpose." I don't think I'm doing this on purpose to get 7 people in my chat. Chad gets 300 or 400. Kevin gets, whatever, 700, 800, 900. Thank you, Mr. B. Be funny if you showed up on my 1C today. I don't know what that. MLC today. Damn it, Fred. Great show. Time for Team Chad against Stand Tall. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to interrupt anyone's MLC viewing. I'd go on MLC. I'd go on Chad's show. I'm not going to speak poorly about either one just because, like I said, I mean, listen, I'll take 7 hardcore fans, Obvious 6 now. They're dropping. I think, but I know people are going to start leaving to go watch Chad in the MLC. So I get it. So I will give my plugs at Earl Skakel everywhere. EARLSKAKEL. TikTok, Facebook. Let's watch Chad pass out. Hopefully not today. I'm on Patreon, Earl Skakel. I do believe I provide a pretty good Patreon experience thanks to my producer, Zen's producer. She uploads all the videos and content for me. So I do believe you get more bang for your buck than most people. I'm not really doing it for the money. And to be honest with you, even when I get the ability to do super chats, I'm not going to the Potsdam show because it's just not enough money for me to fly to Pennsylvania. And that's not a knock on Shuley or Reverend Bob or whoever else. Thank you. Thank you, Dominic. I mean, listen, if I was doing this for money, I would have quit 20 years ago. Probably 22 years ago. And like I said, even when I have the ability to do super chats, I'll read other people's chats that can't pay or that don't want to pay. I'm not. You're never gonna hear me beg for money because I don't need it, and that's not me being cocky. But I have done comedy. I will say this in terms of getting paid for Patreon or Super Chats or whatever. I've done comedy pretty much free for 23 years. So if you like what I do and you want to throw me a few bucks, great. If not, I'll still read your message. So there we go. That's all the plugs. I'll be at the Comedy Store this week at some point. DM me on Instagram if you're in LA, you want to come. I'll take care of it. And if you can't join Patreon, that's totally cool. Maybe retweet this when you see it on Twitter in a couple minutes, or share it on Facebook. A little shit like that helps. So keep it real, Earl. Always, brother. Always. You keep it real too. And thanks for the support. I'll be doing a couple of these when maybe I'll do an LA Kings recap later in the week. But this has been Earl Skakel, Mr. Rat and Roller. Love you all.